everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to another Creative Corner session. Today we are going to be learning about the Kente cloth, all about the history, the origins, in honor for Black History Month. So with that, before we get started with our workshop, let's go over some of our materials we'll be using, and then let's dive into our workshop. Alright everyone, before we get started on our workshop, let's go over some of the materials you'll need. So you'll have construction paper. It depends on what color you're using, and we'll go more in depth on the meaning behind the Kente cloth color here in a bit. But the colors that we'll be using today are green, purple, and black. And then I also do have acrylic paint in white, turquoise, and yellow ochre. You'll also need some string, a block. I have a block of styrofoam. If you have a wooden block, that worked just fine. And then you can see my used string from earlier, a paintbrush, as well as a paper plate. Okay, with this, you're going to get your construction paper, and we're going to make a pattern to it. So I wrapped around the string that I have around my styrofoam block. I poured out my paints, and I have my paintbrush, and I'm just going to brush on the paint onto the string itself. And once you got a nice even coat, this is called print making. So you're having a print, and you're just going to push it down onto your construction paper. And you're going to keep doing this until you reach the very end. And myself, I'm alternating the pattern itself. So I'm holding the block one way, and then I'm going back over in a different direction. Just to make an interesting pattern. It is up to you how you would like to do your pattern. You could also go diagonally. Or you can also go in one direction. So no matter how you do this, you're going to have a very interesting pattern. And then once you're done with your construction paper, all you need to do is just go ahead and cut your pieces into strips, which I did earlier. So I have some green and white, and I have a variety of other colors that we're going to go ahead and weave together. Now that we have our construction paper in strips, I used the white paint on the green construction paper, yellow ochre on the black, and then blue turquoise on the purple. So in order to get started, you're going to grab a strip, actually a few strips, and lay them somewhat side by side. And you're going to get in an alternative strip, place it on the corner. This is basic weaving techniques, and what you're going to do is interlock the construction paper and weave them together. So on this one here, I've done the black construction paper with the green and purple, and you're just going to alternate this pattern. It is also up to you how you would like to do this. It's just something that I prefer. But once you have a good start point, if you have a piece of tape, I suggest you tape the very corner where you started, so that way it's nice and flexible. That's what I did on this one that we're going to work on here in a bit, so that way the paper doesn't come apart. But weaving is very simple. If I can get the paper working with me. You're going to grab your strip, I am going to tuck this next one underneath the purple here, go over the green, and then I'm going to grab this purple strip and put it on top of the black strip. And then you're just going to alternate the pattern, just so that way, as I mentioned, you're interlocking the paper pieces together. And you're just going to go ahead and continue however wide or long you want to do this. But putting our project aside, we're going to go ahead and continue with this one that I started a little while ago. And I'm drawing primarily purple, as well as the black and green alternating. Now, historically speaking, the Kente cloth, Kente in the Twili language, which comes from modern day Ghana, means hand-woven cloth. And with the trades back, historically speaking, between Africa and China, silk was imported into what is modern day Ghana, but historically that's where the Khan kingdom is. That's A-K-A-N. And that's where the Asante people lived. Now the Asante people, historically speaking, as I mentioned, there were two Asante hunters in the forest when they stumbled upon a spider weaving its web. And they thought that the spider weaving its web was very beautiful. So they wanted to incorporate that into their clothing and their fabric. So when the Chinese were importing their silk into Africa, they would take apart the fabric itself and start to weave their own patterns. And symbolically speaking, each pattern itself represents something that's significant to the person that's requesting this type of clothing. Traditionally, this clothing mainly was utilized by royalty, but is now utilized by a lot of different people of power, politicians, mayors, sometimes even everyday wear. But traditionally, most of the Kente clothing was utilized only during special occasions, such as balls and weddings, but now, modern day, it has evolved into graduations and special ceremonies. And as you can see, I'm just weaving back and forth the colors that we've chosen. And going over the colors, each color represents a different meaning. Right now we don't have any red, but red means passion, bloodshed, and death. It just depends on who's wearing it. The colors that we've chosen, purple itself represents femininity as well as healing, and the blue represents peace and harmony. If I can get this green one to stay. And then the green represents planting and growth, and the white means purity and healing. So we have a wide variety of color in our Kente cloth weaving that we're doing here. And last but not least, the black represents maturity and strength, and then the yellow ochre is meant to represent gold, because I didn't have gold at the moment, but gold represents royalty and wealth. And as you can see, we're getting there. But once you're finalized with and happy with your overall design, I would suggest that you tape it so that way the weaving doesn't come apart. And you're just going to continue to do this until you're complete with your project. Alright everyone, to sum up what we've talked about, historically the Kente cloth comes from the Akan kingdom, which is located in modern day Ghana. It is descendant from the Asante people, and the Asante people, legend says that two of these hunters was traveling through the forest, stumbled upon a spider weaving its web, and they wanted to incorporate that into their everyday clothing. Traditionally, Kente cloth was meant for royalty, but is now worn by people of power. More specifically, it is worn during special occasions like weddings, graduations. Last year, it was worn during a congressional session in 2020. The colors and patterns also have cultural significance and meaning. Different colors means different meanings. Purple, we have blue, black, gold, and green and white. Thank you for joining me today on this very special Creative Corner as we dive into a cultural significant clothing specific to African Americans for Black History Month. Again, we went over the Kente cloth, its history, and its significance. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to put in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe to all of our social media, including Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And with that, thank you very much, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.